Being here. My name is Sean Barnes. I'm the Chief of Police for the Madison Police Department, SHONBARNES. Today I'm joined by Assistant Chief Bavery with the Madison Fire Department and Matt Tucker, the Building Inspection Director. We wanted to get together and answer a few questions you may have ahead of the Mifflin Street Block Party, which will be occurring tomorrow. Every year, thousands of students gather to celebrate the end of what we hope will be a successful school year for their grades. I'm sure their parents feel the same way. Our agency spend months planning for this event to make sure that the students and the rest of the community who may join in feel safe. We have additional officers assigned, as we do every year, to work the block party. You will see us patrolling the areas in vehicles, on bikes, and also our mounted patrol will be out tomorrow. Our special events teams have been activated for this event. These officers receive specific training in order to manage large crowds and events. We are here to help. We're not trying to stop students from having fun or too much fun, but we want to be able to connect with them. In the event there's an issue or we need their cooperation, we'll be able to get that voluntarily. Over the past few months, we've gone out with the building inspectors, hoping to prevent incidents like last year's porch collapse, if you recall. We've sent a letter to the UW-Madison's Dean office outlining the types of citations students participating might receive and encourage university leadership to share this with their student body, and they are amazing partners for us, and I want to thank them for being a great partner. We went door to door, talking with students who live in Mifflin Street, encouraging them to contact us if they run into any problems tomorrow. We also held a community meeting, bringing together students, landlords, and the police ahead of this event to talk about particular concerns. Our efforts that I outline are just some of the efforts that we have done, but we can't do this alone. We need the cooperation of our community, and I think we have that. I want to introduce again Assistant Chief Bavery to discuss the efforts of the Madison Fire Department. Chief?
Thank you, Chief. So like the Chief mentioned, my name is Scott Bavery. I'm one of the assistants with the Madison Fire Department. I want to echo some of the comments that the Chief just made. You know, this is, the Mifflin Street Block Party has been going on for years. I think it started back in 1969. These events for us are typically a little easier because they're planned events. Like we have the opportunity, like the Chief mentioned, to work with all those stakeholders, including the police department, other city agencies, the UW, and obviously the public, to really put together a good plan. We review the events of previous years. We look at weather trends and alter our plan based on some of those things. So this year, we have a pretty small footprint as far as the fire department goes. We have 14 extra people scheduled that day. Some are on duty and some are on overtime. We're blessed because it's right downtown. This event is right by our Station 1, which is one of our larger stations. It's outfitted with 10 people that work there every day, so we can incorporate some of that call volume during the day just based on those resources right there. You will note, though, if you're working the event or around the event, that you will see 2 ambulances. We actually are going to staff them a little heavy, though, that day. We'll have 3 people on each ambulance. Typically, we have 2 paramedics, but because of events like this and other events that we staff, ambulances traditionally, crowds are difficult for us to get those ambulances in to make the patient contact. So we have an additional person that just makes sure that ambulance is secure. So again, our footprint's pretty small. Again, the 14 people. We do have a joint unified command in a non-disclosed location that we'll be working with some of our other stakeholders. But that's really where it falls for the fire department. Thank you.
Hi folks, Matt Tucker, Director of the Building Inspection Division. Just to give you an idea, we're pretty much involved in advance. We send out our staff to look at the buildings from the public sidewalk, try to observe any obvious violations that we might see to the structures that could be unsafe. We also take a look at the condition of the property, debris, items that might be strewn around the property, and we will we'll start cases and send notices of compliance to correct those things in advance of the event. This is something we've been doing for many, many years. This year we went out and we had 27 cases that we discovered, some rot deterioration, missing spindles, railings, steps uneven. things along those natures that our housing inspectors might have come across. Almost all those cases have been resolved. If you head out through the space, you'll see that there are a number of properties that are actually have displayed building permits, and some of their construction is obviously evident. We also had about 16 cases that related to property maintenance. These are the type of materials and things that need to be collected and cleaned up off of the property, and have achieved compliance in all those cases. And then our office will basically be involved in any follow-up if there are any incidents to ensure that the structures are safe from an immediate standpoint. And then next week and moving beyond, if there's some long-term repairs that have to occur, we'll be involved in seeing that that work is handled by the property owners. I'll mention that we have ongoing concerns about the overloading and over-occupancy of the balcony areas. And other over-occupancies of the structures. It's a great concern of ours. Many of these aren't designed or intended to occupy with large numbers of people and large loads of stuff. So we really encourage people to use caution. We want the landlords and the property owners to work with their tenants to be responsible about the use of these spaces, because these tend to be our most unsafe situations that we get involved with.
Thank you.
We'll open up to questions if anyone has them.
I do, and actually, Matt, probably you first. You say you go out every year and do these inspections. Was there any changes this year because of the collapse last year in what you were looking at or what you were focusing on?
No changes. We look for the same things. With the scenario from last year, just the design of that structure was we were unable to visually see what we believe might have been the result of that. We're not exactly totally sure what it was, but having seen the debris, we have some idea. We're looking for things that we can observe from the public sidewalk to the exterior, and that's been our program for many years.
Matt, I guess, I don't know if you can quantify this, but how many people is too many people on a porch or balcony?
So the balconies are designed with for loads. And what they're designed for is there's a square footage load for persons, and what the balconies aren't designed for is things like jumping and people putting heavy things that might be up there. By and large, residential balconies are different from commercial balconies. Many of these structures are nearing 100 years old. The balconies may have been replaced over time. But when you have a lot of people crowded on a balcony that might all be jumping and dancing to the same song, you're creating a load that is not necessarily designed or intended to be supported by that structure, and that structure may deteriorate over time. So really the responsibility is on the property owners to inspect those things and to work with their tenants to make sure they don't get over-occupied by people. It's hard to predict there's not a number.
So fair to say that the landlords should be working with the tenants to tell them how many people it could potentially hold?
Yes, or even better would be to take those areas out of play for this event, because then we don't have to have that concern about it. There's not just the overloading. There's also the potential for falls from the balcony, which have happened in the past. That's not our area. We're building inspections concerned about the load.
Chief, is that something officers are going to be focused on if they see too many people on a balcony, or are they going to be looking,
Yeah,
focused on?
again, as Matt said, we don't know what too many people is. We know they are intended for load, but certainly, the visual eye test is going to be very important for our officers walking around. Again, I think he's given us some very good information to consider, and of course, we've been working with him in the past, and I really appreciate what you do. I really do. But that helps us out tremendously. He stated the jumping. There's a particular song that we're fond of here at UW. I'm kind of fond of it myself, but that gives officers something to think about. And so we've proactively identified who's in charge of each resident, so we can knock on the door, we can look at our card and say, hey, is so-and-so here? This is the number, because we proactively done it. Hey, we see that they were jumping around on there, or there's too many people. Hey, you may want to think about reevaluating how many people who are on there. So it is a partnership, a collaborative effort. Again, we're not experts in construction, but I think with the leadership of Matt and his team, that helps us out with trying to make sure that we're safe and we do not have a collapse like we saw last time.
I think I read somewhere you guys might have a drone this year. is that true?
Yes, we have a UAS team, and they dispatch every year, and so we have the ability to look at things like that from the air, and if officers are on the, it's a different vantage point, right? And so if officers are on the ground, they may not be able to see that, or they may not be there at the time. Certainly, we won't be staring at each balcony all day, but the drones definitely gives us a different vantage point so that we can get on the radio and say, hey, did you know that we have this going on? Or someone is sitting on a railing. He talked about falls. That's certainly something that you may not think about until it happens. And so if you're sitting on a railing or if you're playing around on there, certainly we do not want anyone to take a fall from there.
I think I also read you guys are gonna have Narcan this year, not sure if that's new.
Well, we always have it, and of course the fire department has it as well, so we always have that. We haven't had any deployments to my knowledge.
And just generally, you know, a lot of people are focused on the porch this year, but what are the types of calls that are pretty common on the Mifflin Day?
Well, you know, every once in a while you have your little scuffle between groups and we have to get involved. There is a glass ban, so we're asking that people in the area do not have anything in glass. Obviously, for the safety of people, overcrowding is always an issue, and making sure that, you know, if there are vehicles parked in the back, that they don't become trampolines. But we don't want that at all. And so we're doing everything we can. We have set teams or special event teams that I mentioned before that will be in the back of the residences to make sure that we don't have too many people. We don't have that happen. The idea is to be proactive. In fact, prior to getting here, I had my second or my last look at the operational plan briefing in my office, and it looks really good. I think we've thought of almost everything that we can because there's a lot of experience. I'm not sure the first year that this started, but it's been a while, and so we try to improve on everything that we do absolutely every single year.
I came in a little late, so I may
Sure.
have missed this, but how many officers are you planning on having in the area just in general? And what are some of the, apart from the obvious primary concerns and areas that they'll be looking at?
Yeah, so we should have about 200 officers according to the last operational plan. They'll be divided up into small groups. They'll be divided up into traffic. They'll be divided up into bike officers. We have our mounted unit. We'll have 5 horses, I believe, that will be out tomorrow. Our UAS or our drone team will be out tomorrow as well. So it's like a mini operation of different smaller teams that make up about 200 officers, all doing different things to ensure that everyone's safe. It is not a sanctioned event, so the streets will be open, but we do have the ability to close those streets if we believe that the foot traffic negates the vehicle traffic.
And, you know, between Mifflin and then Crazy Legs happening as well, what are some of the tactics in place for mitigation in terms of traffic and in terms of just folks in the area?
Yeah, the traffic plan looks good. Obviously, you know, for the race, that area will be cordoned off so that the runners can do what they need to do. But when that's over, it'll open up. It'll be almost a regular day. To be honest with you, we do this a lot during the warm weather months. Warm weather by someone else's, I think tomorrow's going to be 50. So, but anyway, we do that. We have the furniture market. We have the farmers market that will be going on as well tomorrow. So we have a lot of things, and you know, that's one of the great things about Madison. You know, we can do more than just one thing, right? And so I think we have a good plan. We have the cooperation of our community, and we expect to have a very, very successful day of Mifflin Street, Crazy Legs, Farmers Market, and by 9 o'clock, everyone will have their pajamas on, and they will be ready to go to bed. That's my prediction. So.
And then what kind of, are you expecting to be some of the peak times of the day for traffic in the area, foot traffic as well as just people driving around?
Yeah, I always pay attention to the noon time. Noon seems to be the time where the weather is probably the warmest from noon till about 2 o'clock, and people are out and about enjoying the day as they should. Hi.
Is there kind of a protocol for after the event, sort of what you guys do in terms of assessing the area for damage, things like that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Yeah, so we do a debrief at the end of the event. And so what will happen is it will be kind of like a scale down. We won't let everyone just go at one time, and we'll eventually scale down, and the last thing to go will be traffic. And then once traffic is returned to the normal, that kind of sets the tone for what we do with our after action plan. And then there's always an after action meeting where we get together with building, we get together with fire. What did we do well? What did we did not do well? So we can plan for next year. Thank you. It's a very good question.
Is there one message you guys would want to give students ahead of tomorrow?
Yes, you cannot come out unless you have a 4.0. If you do not have a 4.0, stay at home, continue to. Now, we want everyone to come out and be safe. You need to know that you have a police department that cares tremendously about our community. We care tremendously about our visitors who are coming to school here to learn and to improve our great nation. We do a partnership policing here, where, as you can see, we work with our fire department, we work with building inspections, our mayor's office. We work with whoever we need to, including our landlords and, of course, UW, to make this a safe event. We want people to do that and to be good community members. That's my message.
And this may be a question better directed at you, but when was the most recent inspection on the buildings in that area?
Sure. So we do a walkthrough from the public sidewalk in March, where we look for obvious defects in the buildings every year in the beginning of March. We follow up with orders for corrections. We don't inspect the buildings in their entirety or go onto the private property and inspect the buildings. Those would have to be at the request of the property owner or a tenant potentially.
Any other questions? Good?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
News 3 Now is always on.
Get the Channel 3000 app, activate the push alerts, and we will send you breaking news, traffic, and weather alerts as it happens.
The Channel 3000 app. Get it now.
Powered by News 3 Now.